My crush challenged me to do a nude portrait, and I accepted it, but I didn't know he would be doing it alongside me. So Jude, tell me, are you ready for a challenge? Adam asked me out of nowhere with a devilish smile on his face, as we were walking into the parking lot under the bright sun. I gulped, only in anticipation. Strangely, surprise was not something Adam could cause me, at least not anymore. I had known Adam for quite some time, and interesting was a good word to describe him. Even the way I met him was quite unusual. One night, he had gotten himself involved with a group of misfits, and as fate would have it, I ended up saving his life. Strangely, now we're connected. I spent enough time with him to understand his mind and personality. I knew him well enough to know that when he said challenge, he didn't have an innocent idea in his mind. He never had those. I knew by the expression on his face that whatever he was plotting was devious. I took a second to admire him because I truly loved when he looked at me like that. My eyes scanned him up and down, seeing his dirty blonde hair and his blue eyes, and his physique. Even if I was taller by a couple of inches, he was way stronger than me. He was such an attractive man. Yes, I answered in an unsure voice when I remembered he asked a question. Saying yes to Adam was dangerous, but I've never been able to turn him down. When we got to his car, instead of getting directly into the driver's door, Adam opened the passenger door for me. He looked at the seat and then at me with a raised eyebrow. He was giving me one last chance to back out. That was nice of him, but I didn't want to back down. I sat bravely inside his car, ignoring the anxiety in the pit of my stomach. 15 minutes later, we arrived at an apartment I had never been to. I was confused and honestly also scared. Adam knocked loudly, the door opened. A tall, skinny, and flamboyant man appeared in front of us. He had tattoos, jewelry, and a pink net shirt on. I had never seen someone with such style. Adam greeted his acquaintance and immediately introduced him to me. George was his name. Adam explained the tall man was a self-taught artist. George proceeded to go into depth about his history with art and photography. Within just seconds of meeting him and listening to him speak, I concluded that not only was his clothing loud and intense, but so was his personality. I turned towards Adam and looked at him with confusion. "Why are we here?" I tried to whisper discreetly, but in that small apartment, there was no place for privacy. George didn't seem to mind. Adam grabbed one of my shoulders, and he looked me right in the eyes. "I'm thinking far into the future," he answered, with a suspicious grin on his face. He shook my shoulder a little before letting go and putting the same arm around my neck, hugging me. Our faces were too close when he spoke again slowly, almost cutting the words per syllable. A nude portrait. My mouth gaped open, and for a second I forgot how to breathe. My mind was filled with a million thoughts, but the only one that stayed was the memory of the day I met Adam back then. I was simply taking a ride on my motorcycle when I saw someone running desperately, being chased by a group of suspicious men. I couldn't ignore it. That's why I drove in front of this unknown man and screamed for him to get on. He didn't doubt any second in listening to me. I still think about how he hugged my waist back then, and how he screamed and roared in excitement when I sped up. Maybe that's the moment I fell for him. We went from stranger to being friends. The more time I spent with him, the faster my heart beat for him. It was embarrassing to admit that I had feelings for Adam, practically since I first met him. There was one instance where I thought my feelings for him were reciprocated. On Valentine's Day, Adam asked to meet, and I accepted without hesitation, getting my hopes up, thinking that maybe he wanted to go out with me. When we met, he gave me a box of chocolates, and at that moment I felt so emotional. I thought I was going to cry. However, when I asked him what he meant by that gift, all I got was disappointment. Adam told me he felt bad for me for not having a date on Valentine's Day. He tried to lighten the mood, saying that I was cool and pretty, and that I deserved something. I always felt like the only one nervous, flustered, and excited, while Adam was the unbothered and carefree one. Our friendship was always peculiar and special from the very beginning, and continued to be so over time. This was mainly due to Adam and his love for danger. Almost every time we met, he always had a wild idea in his head that he wanted us to do together, and I had a terrible habit of always saying yes to him. Among these plans, Adam had asked me in the past to do paragliding, which turned out to be very cool and quite fun. The following week, he wanted to visit an abandoned old buildings in the middle of the night. This was not so cool, just scary and creepy. All those activities were a lot, but our friendship wouldn't be the same without them. Experiencing that danger brought us together in a way. I had never connected with anyone before. Then something happened. We were drinking, talking, and laughing. I was having the time of my life, and without even thinking, I kissed him on the cheek when he was helping me get back to my apartment. Alcohol didn't help me forget that moment. I knew Adam remembered it too because he casually mentioned it the day after, not bothered at all. He recounted the event as if it was an amusing story worth telling. I was embarrassed, but also glad, because at least he wasn't grossed out or uncomfortable by me being clingy to him. After that, I felt like we became closer. Kissing his face when I was drunk because, like a tradition to me, he never rejected me and even accepted it with laughter, and a certain gleam in his eyes. But he never kissed me or started physical touch first. So I've never pushed for more. And now we were here, facing Adam's new crazy idea, a nude portrait. Adam always knew how to outdo himself. "You want me to take a nude portrait?" I asked him with a shaky voice. I was not scared of doing it. I had done far worse in the past few months because of Adam. But then the thought of doing it in front of Adam made my insides feel on fire. For a second, I imagined him watching me naked, his eyes staring as I posed in front of a stranger, and that was enough to make me feel dizzy and lightheaded. "Well, yes, but together," he clarified. Like it was obvious, and I was silly for not understanding what all this was about. My heart stopped. I couldn't bear the thought of doing a nude portrait in front of him. But now we were supposed to be naked together and pose close to each other? My entire body felt hot, and a thick lump formed in my throat. Too many emotions at once filled me, and my vision went black for a second. Both of my hands went to hold on to my closest wall. I was not scared, let alone disgusted. I was so excited that I couldn't control myself. I felt a strong hand rub my back. I tried to show a smile to Adam, trying to hide my obvious emotions. "You don't have to do it if you don't want to," Adam said, locking eyes with me, with a reassuring smile on his face. That was a first for me. Adam never forced me into doing anything, but he also never gave me the chance to back down. "I don't want you to be uncomfortable." "I'm not," I promised. I tried to regain my composure. "I'm fine, just worried I'm not going to be able to stay still for long," I laughed, and Adam just looked at me curiously for a second, and maybe even hesitant. That made me feel more nervous, like he was analyzing me. "Do you even want to do this?" I took a deep breath and decided to be honest with myself. I wanted this because I wanted Adam, but maybe my feelings for him were the exact reason I shouldn't do this. "I'll have to think about it," I answered. "Look, if you do this, I'll make sure to do something for you. You can ask for anything you want." My mouth went dry. I knew what I wanted. My mind goes to only one thing, a kiss from him. "George has limited time on his schedule," Adam said before I could get my answer out. He looked at George. I almost forgot he was also there with us. "You have a week to think about it," I nodded. Next day. I couldn't sleep the whole night. I kept tossing and turning, wondering what I should do, thinking about all the possibilities and how this could change my life forever. Deciding to stop this, I grabbed my phone and called the man who was responsible for my insomnia. "Hey Jude, I want a date," I interrupted him. My voice came out fast and clumsy for the portrait. I'm going to do it, in exchange for a date. Last night I realized that this was my only chance. It was now or never. If I wanted things to change between us, I wanted to put myself out there, just like Adam. I had to also take risks, and I was taking this one. Adam didn't answer immediately. Some seconds went by, and I started regretting my words. Is the only thing Adam said. I could almost hear him gulping, and I imagined him rubbing his chin in confusion. He was taking his sweet time answering. "Okay, let's go on a date, but I'm choosing where." "Yeah, of course, I'm cool with that." I almost squealed when I heard that. After hanging up, I jumped and screamed in excitement. 2 hours later, that day, my phone rang and my heart jumped when I saw who it was. "Oh, hey, Adam." "Hey, Jude, I called George. We're doing the portrait this weekend, okay?" "I'm free," I said, and I bit my lip thinking about how this crazy idea was happening. A nude portrait. Wow. "Good." He took a second before continuing. "I was thinking that maybe we could go on a date now." "Now?" I looked at the watch on my wrist. It wasn't that late, but I wasn't mentally or emotionally prepared for this. "Yeah, it's not like we have anything else to do," he laughed, as if he was teasing me. I wasn't offended by this because it was true. I didn't have anything else going on. For a second, I was impressed by the fact that Adam knew my schedule so well. "So, should I pick you up?" "Yeah, I'll wait for you." 30 minutes later. In such a short notice, I tried my best to get ready. I wanted to look handsome for Adam, so I wore my tightest jeans and my best cologne. Just as I was grabbing my keys, I heard Adam arrive. I got inside his car and said hello to him nervously. "What are we doing today?" I asked, once he started driving. "It's a surprise." He looked at me briefly with a mischievous smile on his face before his eyes went back to the road. I knew that if Adam was planning it, the date couldn't be normal. But that was okay. I was so used to going with Adam's ideas that normal now seemed boring. When we arrived, I was shocked when I saw the place Adam decided on. It was a big restaurant next to a cliff. There was nothing I loved more than the sound of the ocean. I didn't know if Adam remembered that about me, and that's why he chose this place, or it was only a coincidence. Either way, it was the perfect place for our date. I was thinking we could swim first and then eat. That'd be fun, right? Adam asked with excitement on his face. I was impressed so much that I was out of words. Almost in a trance, my eyes couldn't stop looking at the sea. Adam probably noticed it because he stood in front of me before taking his shirt off and running towards the water, not before giving me a cheeky smile. I didn't doubt and followed him. We took off our jeans without breaking eye contact. Adam grabbed me by the waist and threw me into the ocean. I laughed while grabbing his arm, making him fall with me. I stopped moving when I realized the expression on Adam's face. I saw it in his eyes. He never looked at me like that before. I became conscious of my skin against his skin, and everything in me was burning. I couldn't stand it anymore. My fingers grabbed his face and I kissed him. I finally did what I wanted to do for so long. Adam kissed me back, and he did it so passionately. I was breathless. He kissed me like he meant it. I didn't know how much time had passed when Adam held my hand and pulled me out of the water. He grabbed our clothes from the ground and gave me my shirt and jeans. We quickly dressed and we got into the car. Words were not needed. We both knew what we wanted next. We arrived at the first hotel we found and we walked towards the room. When I asked for this date, I never thought we would end up sleeping together. It was like a dream come true. A loud rumble came from my stomach. I felt embarrassed. We didn't have dinner, so it was normal. I was hungry. Adam didn't laugh. He stood up and started getting dressed. I'm bringing you food. He gave me a quick peck on the lips before leaving the room. I blushed at how natural that kiss felt. He was not gone for long when he arrived with 2 hamburgers. We ate and talked about nothing. I realized Adam couldn't keep his hands off me. He kissed me and hugged me every chance he had. I felt like I was over the moon. We didn't say explicitly what all this meant for us, mostly because we didn't have time to talk much that night. 3 days later. Finally, the day of the portrait arrived, and all my initial doubt and anxiety about doing this was gone. I felt comfortable with Adam, even when we were both naked in front of George. He had explained to us that he needed at least 3 sessions to get the basic sketch done, because it was better to have them be short so we wouldn't get tired, and after that, he would eventually finish the details by himself. You guys seem closer now, George said. He sounded almost impressed. The chemistry you have is amazing. I like it. The portrait seemed to be going well. As we arranged ourselves in a position we thought was good, George stopped for a second and got closer to us. He grabbed one of Adam's hands and put it on my stomach. George's fingers went to my jaw, and he angled my face towards Adam's. Feeling this hot breath on my lips, George's fingers were colder than I expected, but the gentleness made me feel hot somehow. A shiver went through my spine. I told myself that was the reaction only because of Adam and no one else. George took a step back to watch us from the distance again and then continued to direct us in multiple intimate positions. He made us sit down face to face for some poses, and for others we were standing up and cuddling or almost kissing. I tried to keep my cool, but everything about this was making me feel like I was on fire. Adam's skin against mine and George's hands as he gently moved us were both too much. The intense gaze was doing something to me that confused me. Once George seemed content with the pose, he began working on the painting, and my impression of him completely changed. When I first met him, he seemed obnoxious and pretentious, but now he seemed so concentrated and passionate, looking at us like we were art. It was flattering. Once we were done with the session, Adam asked me if I wanted to do something afterwards, which I gladly accepted, but this time I was the one choosing where we were going. Adam drove us, following my directions, and we arrived at a hot dog stand. That place was my favorite because it was good, cheap, and it was next to a beautiful park. When Adam saw where we were, he looked at me, amused, and even laughed, but he didn't complain. We ate a lot before we decided to go for a walk around the park. He always surprised me, Jude. Me? My finger pointed towards myself. That was rich coming from him. I surprise you? How so? You always do things I don't expect you to do. You're bold. Sorry, but I can't believe you're calling me bold when you're Mr. I like to put my life in danger, I said with a sarcastic tone in my voice. That's different. We are different, he pointed at himself and then at me. I'm usually not scared of doing things. That's why I want to do all those crazy ideas, because it's easy for me and I like the thrill. But you get scared, at least more than me, and don't try to deny it, because we both know it's the truth. I huffed at that as I rolled my eyes. So pretentious of him. I wanted to defend myself, but I couldn't say he was completely wrong. Not like that. He tried to clarify, huffing when I mock glared at him. I'm not trying to attack you, I'm trying to compliment you. What I mean is that, even though you're scared, you always pull through and follow me in all my plans. I think you are bold, being able to fight your fears like that. Me? I'm just a dumbass with no sense of preservation. But you're a brave man, and beautiful, he added quietly. I blushed at the flippant compliment. I don't think I'm that brave, though, I mumbled, feeling some shyness and my cheeks getting hotter when he continued to stare at me. I looked down to the floor. I wasn't used to Adam complimenting me like that. Well, you did ask me out. You surprised me there. He flashed a wide smile as he nudged me with his elbow, teasing me. But I'm glad you did. I let out a big grin on my face. Well, I'm glad you asked me to do the nude portrait. Without it, we wouldn't be here. Adam surrounded me with his arm around my neck, bringing me closer to him. You looked amazing while doing it, he whispered against my ear. It was difficult for me to stay professional. He kissed my temple before hugging me tighter. You think? I said, mostly because I wanted to hear him praise me more. Yeah, honestly, when the idea of a nude portrait came to my mind, the only person I wanted to do it with was you. I was more than surprised by that confession. Even my mouth fell open. I've always thought you were very good looking, so I figured you would be perfect for this. Really? Yes, of course. You're very pretty. Again, that flattering compliment. Why didn't you say anything before? I did say it, though, on Valentine's. You mean when you teased me and you said you pitied me for being a loner on that day? Yeah, I was still a little bitter about that day. Oh, come on, I didn't say it like that. You might as well have. All right, sorry. That day I wanted to give you something, but I got awkward and that's why I ended up saying all that. Happy now? My heart skipped a beat when I heard that. That was so endearing that I had to step back to see Adam's face and the honesty in his eyes. Never in a million years I would have imagined that was what was going through his mind. This was a new side of Adam I didn't even know existed. I grabbed his face and kissed him hard in the middle of the park. Yes, I was really happy. 2 days later. The second session of the portrait was really easy. I didn't have any issues, especially because I already knew what to expect. Adam and I posed in the position George told us, and our only job was to stay still. But Adam, being Adam, didn't agree with that. He secretly tickled me and continued to poke me in the ribs whenever he thought George was not looking. I did my best not to move, but I couldn't stop flinching. Stop, I whispered between my teeth as I smacked his hand away from me. Adam bit his lip trying to hold his laugh. I rolled my eyes and decided to continue ignoring him. I heard a loud cough and we looked towards George. He had stopped painting and he was staring at us with his arms crossed. I didn't know him that well, but he looked annoyed. Even if he had a blank face, he walked towards us and he stood just in silence there. I gulped. I felt like a kid in trouble. I was just messing around, Adam started saying. There was some nervousness in his voice he tried to hide with humor. George's hand reached out for Adam and grabbed his face, not so gently anymore. Adam went silent at that. The taller man arranged him in the correct position. Behave, George commanded. Adam before he slapped his face softly. George looked amused. I couldn't hold my laugh. I was expecting Adam to look at least embarrassed or maybe even annoyed. But he had a different expression in his eyes. A cheeky smirk appeared on his face, and even though he tried to stay in our pose, his interested eyes kept looking for George. I didn't blame him. George was something worth looking at. I figured that myself last session. That was fun today, I said after Adam drove me home. We were standing in front of my apartment door, especially when George scolded you. He's really intense about his work, and I learned that the hard way, he joked. Adam laughed and shifted his weight from one leg to the other. He was pondering on his next words. Was it my imagination or George's kind of... Adam started taking his sweet time to find the right words. But I knew perfectly what he meant. Hot? I asked. Yeah, he is. I agree, I said, before hugging Adam by his shoulder and pulling him towards me. But I think you're hotter. I pushed him into my apartment, kissing his lips. 3 days later, it was the last session to finish the sketch of the nude portrait. Because it was a special occasion, George brought a tequila bottle to celebrate. But we couldn't wait and ended up drinking before we even started. I was dizzy, but I made my best effort to do my pose, trying to find balance while leaning on Adam, even though he was clearly as tipsy as I was. I finished the sketch, George said. Finally, I answered with a smile on my face. I hugged Adam and rested my head on his shoulder. I stayed there for a second, and Adam's hands went to my waist. He started swaying us from side to side in a silly slow dance. Maybe it was the alcohol, but I didn't mind George's heavy gaze on it. At this point, he probably knew every single detail of our naked bodies. That thought gave me chills. I didn't realize George getting closer, but he was right in front of us. I separated myself from Adam and he looked deep into my eyes, and then his eyes went to Adam, eyeing him up and down. "You guys are beautiful," George whispered without warning. George kissed me. I was shocked, and when I realized what was happening, I stepped back immediately. I looked at Adam in panic, not because I disliked the kiss, but because I didn't want to offend him. But Adam simply grabbed my face and kissed me passionately. Adam pulled him towards me. He had the same burning eyes filled with adrenaline he had when he asked me to paraglide or when we visited abandoned buildings. He was daring me, and I was always up for a challenge. I was getting dressed when I had a strange feeling creep up on me. I looked at George and Adam talking, and a thought came to me. Adam had never told me he liked me or explicitly said he wanted a serious relationship with me. Self-doubt filled me. What if he liked George more? The moment we spent with him was something that happened in the heat of the moment. Nothing serious. Yeah, I momentarily felt attracted to George, but Adam was the only one who was in my heart, and I didn't know if Adam felt the same way. After all, we never promised anything to each other. "Are you okay?" Adam asked once we left George's apartment. "Yeah, of course. It was fun." My answer was not a complete lie. I did have fun, but I couldn't admit the ugly feelings I had afterward. I was too ashamed to tell Adam my fears and insecurities. Adam grabbed my hand and squeezed it. He nudged my shoulder and smiled at me. "Want to go out tomorrow? We could watch a movie." "Sure, I'd love to," I answered. I tried to put on my best smile. The next day, Adam picked me up and took me to the cinema. Once we were inside, I couldn't even concentrate on the movie. So much was going through my head. I was confused and scared, thinking about the possibility of Adam telling me in any second that he was going to stop seeing me because he was interested in George. After the movie, I tried my best to answer and keep the conversation going with Adam, but it was difficult. Adam gave me strange looks, but he never mentioned anything, so I was hoping he didn't notice my concerns. "By the way, I talked to George and the sketch turned out great," he said with excitement on his face. "He's talented. I'm excited to see the finished portrait." That felt like a stab in my chest. "Maybe you should have invited him here instead of me then," I said with bitterness in my voice. I felt ashamed as the words came out, but I couldn't stop myself. Adam looked at me confused and surprised. "Are you jealous of George? That's what's been going on with you all day?" I stayed quiet. I didn't have the strength to lie anymore, but also it was hard to admit that out loud. "Jude," he called my name, with a voice I'd never heard from him before. It was sweet and gentle. His hands reached out for mine and his eyes locked into mine. "Were you uncomfortable with what we did with George? Because I had an impression that you didn't mind having fun with someone else." "It's not that." Adam was right. We had casually talked before about how being adventurous and open was the best, even in relationships. I didn't mind occasionally including a third person or seeing Adam sleeping with other people. I even thought it was hot. "Then what is it?" "I like you all right, and I don't want you to like someone else. I'm not jealous of you sharing our bed with other people from time to time, but I can't stand sharing your heart." I ended up raising my voice with that confession. I felt my cheeks get hotter. Adam showed me a big and reassuring smile. "I like you too, okay? What happened with George was just that. Only fun, and probably is not going to happen again. What you and I have is different." I nodded weakly and squeezed his hand. "That day we were drunk, and believe me, I don't want to date George. Hell, I don't think he wants to date me either. He's only interested in sleeping around." "Okay," I whispered, feeling silly about my insecurities. "I want to date you and only you," he said, before kissing me. 2 weeks later, Adam and I had been seeing each other almost daily. We were so much closer than I thought we would ever be. My anxiety about George was so much better thanks to Adam's constant reassurance. That day, Adam went to my apartment with something in his hands. I gasped in surprise when I saw what it was: the nude portrait. I giggled when I analyzed the piece of art. It was beautiful, but I also felt somewhat embarrassed to see us like that. "We could hang this in our home. What do you think?" Adam said. "And where's it going to stay until then?" I asked with a small smile. "What do you mean, you're not coming to live with me at this moment itself?" He laughed when I pushed at his shoulder. "Okay, shush, maybe you can keep it. If you're brave enough." I rolled my eyes and took it from his hands. "I will have it, and then we can have it in our home," he whispered and kissed my nape. I smiled at the idea of us living together, and I hugged him tightly. I loved Adam so much. If he had asked me, I would spend the rest of my life with him. Conclusion. My relationship with Adam only grew after that. We eventually moved in together in a small but beautiful home, and decided to adopt Golden Retriever. Adam did as he suggested and ended up hanging the nude portrait in our bedroom. I didn't complain because at the end of the day, we looked amazing together. I never saw George again after the photo shoot. Adam also lost contact with him, but not because of my past insecurity. Adam reassured me every day of his love for me, so I didn't hold any grudge or negative feelings towards him. That nude portrait was the beginning of us, and of course it wasn't the last crazy thing we did together. We could say George wasn't the last person we had fun with. We always welcomed the fun and the adrenaline. The end. Would you like to have a nude portrait of your partner and yourself? Let us know in the comments below.